You ever do things when you're comfortable? Not often, right? You ever find that you take the most action when you're either in pain or you're seeking pleasure? That's exactly how I found Dolores Cannon and how I found this work. Because when you're comfortable, there's just not a whole lot of movement, right? There's patterns, but you get into a little bit of pain, or you need to see, you're looking for some pleasure. You think that you're going to gain some pleasure, then there's some momentum. That's exactly how I found Dolores Cannon in this work. I'd literally spent a life where I was looking for deeper meaning always. I think since I was a kid. But you play the part. You're like, this is what you're supposed to do to be a good citizen, to be a good daughter, to be a good girl in school, all that. And that was kind of, I wanted to be good at stuff, but I don't want to be like a square, even though I kind of was one. I was a little bit of a rebellious one, kind of like the round circle and the square peg. So if you've ever felt that way, if you've ever felt like you didn't really belong in the same way that you're supposed to be here, and that there's always a little bit of seeking within you, I think this might resonate with you, our journeys together, because I decided to try a lot of things on. And I kind of looked like I was all over the place. I didn't have a pattern, but I was actually tasting everything. Like, let's taste this. Kind of like it was a buffet, and like it was ketchup, mayonnaise, and mustard and Tabasco at a buffet. And I was like, I don't like that. I like that. I do well at this. I don't like that. But I didn't look very stable to the real world, but it didn't matter to me because I felt very, very convincingly that this place where we're on was a place to experience things and not to just, even though I'm in my older years, I just knew that you don't want to do work for 40 years and wait for that little gold watch at the end, which doesn't exist anyway. And I'm like, yeah, no, not doing that. Not going to play that game. And the young ones know that too. So if you're in a space where you are in pain, then I want you to know that's actually a good thing. Your inner being is like, let's get out of this experience and let's not keep doing what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing the same way every day. But it doesn't always look cool when you leave a pain because you know what you're doing. At least like when you're not connected anyway. And so like I left the Air Force and I went to massage school, and it wasn't so after that because I went from 65 to 6,000, and then I went bankrupt. I slept a couple years in my car. But I had an adventure. I wouldn't have changed that for the world. It was really interesting, that's for sure. And I had a new respect for everything that I got. And then I decided all I wanted to do was chase money. So then I chased, because I was in survival mode for a couple of years. So then all I did was money is everything. And all I went for was money and not meaning or enjoyment, just money. And after 7 years of 7 days a week, I finally made that ride. I got that ride. I was a millionaire on paper. I had a million, and that didn't feel. Actually, that was the worst I ever felt on the planet. Was working all of that. Finally, I went to the doctor. They said, "Wow, you're pre everything. You're pre blah 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 blah." And I'm like, my body was getting ready to go off the cliff because I had done that to myself. And luckily, I caught it right beforehand. So I'm lucky to this day that everything has worked out very well. But pain. Pain gets you moving. And pain got me meditating because I had to figure out a way to balance my brain because everything about me was seeking outside of myself. But I'm like, where else are you going to go? Like, I can't really meditate. My brain's frenetic. So this is how I'm going to get information. And I was kind of excited. I liked searching externally. But finally, one day I found this meditation that you can think no matter what, and it'll take you there anyway, which was good for me because I was so in my head. Now, my spiritual life, just so you know, it was kind of like, hey, God's good and I'm good, so we're good, right? Because I had shit to do kind of thing. That's just about as deep as I was spiritually. And so when I started meditating, I wasn't doing it to be spiritual. I was doing it to kind of relax my frenetic mind. I was very practical. And I was extremely practical. I had very much bought into the world, in the the normie world very much, and that's when everything changed. That's when two angels met with me in my meditation, not once but 3 or 4 times a week, and started training me on how to be here and how to manage energy. And I was very resistant when they showed up. I'm like, yeah, no, wrong room. I'm not doing this to be spiritual. No. I'm just doing this to relax my brain. I thought I might be in trouble because I wasn't used to this kind of thing. they were very stoic, very good with me. They were just all, reverent, with the white robes all the way down, white hair. But they were like, well, we thought we'd give you some advice, And I couldn't stop but look at them because they had these skinny white beards. And I'm like, what are you, like wizard angels? Like, what's up? I've never seen angels with little white beards, So anyway, that got me to seek out what's going on here. And that's how I found Dolores Cannon. So Dolores Cannon made sense for me. Because in the quantum realm, we got to participate without drugs, for real, going into alien lifetimes and other dimensions. And you could be. One time, I was a mist over a lake. Yeah, it's like, and one time I was a filament of light traveling through the space. I mean, I've done a lot of lifetimes. So, I mean, that just sounds peculiar, but there was meaning in all of it. And it's very deep. It's not. It sounds very like just silly, a mist over a lake, but actually when you're in it, because you're experiencing it, it's very deep and very profound. I'll give you an example. Once I had a guy who was a boulder. Okay, I was like, you're a big rock. And this was I was only like a practitioner for a few years. And I thought, well, this might be one of the most boring conversations I'll ever have. What am I going to say? Ask a rock. I mean, what can you ask a rock for a lifetime, Oh my goodness, let me tell you guys what happened. It blew me away when I said, okay, so what's it like to be a rock? What's it like to be a boulder? And check this out. This is what the response was. In the morning, I could feel the dew drip down one side of me as a single trail of ants march on the sunny side. And the vibrations of the wild horses resonate with me as I hear the rumble beneath the earth. And the tree roots asking each other for moisture. I can hear them talking to each other through electrical charges and movement. And I'm like, what is happening right now? It was like poetry for 30 minutes. And I was stunned into such reverence for just the most basic, benign things that we just don't understand. How magical, and we miss it. Do you ever miss it? Do you ever find that you're just going through your life? Of course, next week later, I'm hiking and I see a boulder. I'm like, oh, I see you. I so see you. So, it's waking up to understanding more of who we are. Waking up to understanding that we are supported. That the universe is. We don't imagine that to be true because sometimes we have a program that keeps us with a lot of resistance, and so we think, well, I would do that on purpose. We don't want to be a victim. We want to be a victim a little bit because we're like, I would never tend to that for myself. And it's not that we did anything wrong, because in my work, you came down here to put on these clothes of, abandonment, or a clothes of people pleasing, or a clothes of shame, because you're a perfect, pure source soul signature frequency of creation, and you're playing a game that you were having these things so that you could experience it. It's this whole experience that you're seeing and doing it. Technically, it's not real. It's an illusion made for you so you can have the experience to grow your soul. And I know that might be a little bit of a stretch for many, but in my work, that's what it's like. That's what it is. But it doesn't make it any less painful. It doesn't make it any less. But if you see the bigger picture, we're so close to it. If you see the bigger picture, you can relax a little bit and go, okay, so if I came down and experienced that, I think I did that. I think I got the badge. I got the, and so, man, look at that go. Because that's kind of what happens is we take all the evidence of the past and we bring it into the present. We identify with it. And then this is my pain. This is my thing. And no, that was your thing yesterday, the day before, you got a lot of evidence. But this is a new now moment. And you could literally find a way to collapse the evidence and focus and feel more on what you desire and bring that into fruition than on the identification of who you've been up to now. And I know this is kind of a stretch. I know that it is. And I'm not, everything I'm telling you is world according to Natalie, okay? I'm not saying it is the truth. It is the world according to Natalie. Because I've been playing in this area, and this is what I do for a living for 15 years. You think that I would start to observe some patterns, right? Some patterns in people's conversations with their inner being for so long. I'm probably one of the, when you think about it, I'm probably very privileged to have access to that kind of information for thousands of sessions to listen to that and start to see patterns or start to have understanding. So Yeah, of course, the universe is going to support you. So the universe is going to make you right. So if you see the glass is half empty, it is. If you see it half full, it is. Because the universe wants to learn what it's like for you to learn it, to experience it that way. So it's kind of a relief too. You don't have to make other people wrong to be right. Hear that again. You don't have to make other people wrong for you to be right. You're all right. Everybody's right. Everybody's perspective is right based on where they've come from, the eyes that they see it through. Right? So I just wanted to tell you that sometimes when you're in pain, I don't want you to think that, judge yourself and don't have shame. And because you're in the in-between space, and the in-between space is magical because that's when you can gravitate, where you can find things like Dolores Cannon, you could find things maybe like QHHT or other Reiki practitioners, and amazing, experiences that you don't even know you're ready for until you have enough pain. My client that was here 2 days ago, he was a very practical man, and he sat with me, and he was like, and he was like, logically, I can, because I like science and spirituality, man. That's where I come from. It makes sense to both sides of my brain for me to take it on. So I could talk to him, man. I was like, bring it in, come on, bring it. Let's sort, because I needed his brain to just think that it's possible, so that he's not sitting there with arms crossed in resistance. Because I need him to be open to receive. And so I was like, come on, bring in everything, and let's just put it on the table. And then I would have him see that there was a possibility that there was more to it than what he was seeing. And he was like, okay, yeah, he got open. So when he had his session, he was just stunned. He goes, now I have to, he goes late afterwards, he goes, okay, I have to be honest with you. I had no idea that this was going to be like this. I thought it was just going to be like a dream, or or I was going to be making it up. And he goes, I'm actually got to process this now, because he went off planet for one of his lives. And he goes, he's like, I need a minute. Goodbye. He left pretty quickly, bless his heart, because he didn't know where to put this yet. It was just like, he was like, what just happened? He's like, oh, tell my friends, so this isn't the beautiful thing about this is it meets you where you are. My job as a guide is just to get you receptive to these things. And I'll tell you what, the veil is thinner and thinner. You don't have to have people like me. You can start your own dedicated, consistent meditation practice, or whatever it is, nature or connection, and you'll start to have more aha moments, And I played with the universe a couple months ago, and just because I like to play games, I'm just real playful. And I live in the hills of, like the forest of Georgia, and I'm like, you know what? Show me a zebra. That's something I have not seen in my peripheral, and I don't see anything about a zebra, not in a magazine. Nowhere I go do I see a zebra. I'm like, go ahead, universe, show me a zebra, and then you just have to let that go, and don't start, looking out the corner of your eye. Just let it go. Do you know I had a client 3 days later that showed up and sat at my table, and she goes, I've been writing poetry. And she goes, I want you just to open it up to whatever page and read the poetry that I wrote. So I was like, okay, I opened it up. It's all about a zebra. No, kid you not. I'm like, oh, okay, there you go. What are the odds? So I just thought, there we go. There's my zebra. 3 days. It only took 3 days. So you can play with the universe. Treat it like a universal waiter. But you have to have no expectations. Our brain wants to know the how. And I always say to my clients, drop the how and allow. Because the how is just the third dimensional brain needing to know where to go and what to do. And you're going to cut yourself off from what the higher mind can give you. Drop the how, just be an allower, which means just to relax, expect it to come in whatever way it needs to, because you get to have whatever you need. You are supported, even though we think we're not because of programming. That potential is there. Lean into that. And if you can't, be playful. That's what happened for me is when I come into this work, when I went into it with the guys, I wasn't playful. Are you kidding me? I had a tendency when I was young to be playful, but the world sure works that out of you, doesn't it? But not anymore. Not anymore. Playful is where it's at. In fact, if you ask yourself, when you go into your day that's like the same routine, say, how can I make this fun? And your brain first, it goes, yeah, you can. This is just what we do. And they're like, no. If we could make this fun, what would we do? Like, let's get like weird. It's like, well, if you're going to get weird, we could we could wear shorts in the car on the way there and just have a, ice cream cone, or, I don't know. I'm just trying to be playful and think of things. Do I have them? Oh, I don't have them. I bought these light sticks from Amazon. They were styrofoam rainbow light sticks. I didn't know how cool they were until I got them. And you literally tap them and they do this. It's like Obi-Wan Kenobi miniature version, and you can get like a box of 24 for like $24. And I passed them around to people that came over, and we were having the best time with them. We had the lights low, and we were just, it was, we're all we're all adults, and we're having the best time. We called them our holding our extraordinary self and attending that, played with that. It is just a good time, especially at nighttime. It was a good time. So, lighten up on yourself. The little child in you wants to play, never doesn't get to play anymore, and takes life too seriously, especially if you pay attention to the external world. That'll take the play right out of you. Remember when you used to hide under a table and put a blanket over it, and it was your own house, and that was your place and your secret space? It brought out, the creativity in you. And we shut that down when we get into when we think we're supposed to be responsible adults. We do that. And it doesn't have to be that way. You can still be responsible, pay your bills, and still be playful. And you know what it feels like when you're an adult and playful? It feels magical. That's what it feels like. And when you can embody just a little bit of that into your day by asking, hey, what could we do that would be frisky? Then that actually tunes you. And if I was to make a recommendation, I would say do it in the morning. Because if you do it in the morning, you're kind of setting your frequency. I always say frequency first. You're setting the tone. And then, just like people say appreciation or gratitude, you can even flip your pillow over, that coolness. You go, yeah, that's awesome. Anything that just, you don't have to make something up. In fact, don't make anything up because frequency is genuine. And just the little things. And you know that it's going to get better and better. You stop spiraling down and you start evening it out, and then even start spiraling up. In a week or a month later, you're in a whole different atmosphere. And that's what happened to the group that I was working with recently. We all went to a different atmosphere together. And it's momentum. That's what it is. Just in baby steps. Where's that thing? Here, let me show you. So I made this. We're going to be backwards, but it basically said, it's a little tiny domino. A little itty bitty domino. Pushing over that one, it pushes over this one that's like 5 pounds. So it says here, small shifts, massive impact. So if you can live your life with small shifts and massive impact, that's the way to go. That's the way to go. Small shifts. Just little tiny shift in their day. Not getting angry at that guy who cut you off in traffic. Changes everything. That's my playful conversation with us today. And going to get ready to clean up the house and get ready for bed. So we'll talk again soon. Enjoyed it.